All right. So the reason that you're watching this is because you did not perform at a 4 on your minerals quiz. And so you're needing or wanting to do a retake on that. And so I wanted to go over the quiz with you. So the first question here says you're eating with a friend in the cafeteria. You have chocolate chip cookies, very delicious for dessert. Your friend tells you the chocolate chips remind him of minerals and the entire cookie reminds him of a rock. You should definitely you should definitely be agreeing with that statement. And here's the reason. Minerals are the ingredients of rocks, just like chocolate chips are an ingredient of a cookie. So that's the reason that that works. Now, I would say question number 2 was our most commonly missed. And this one is something that I don't know another way to say it. You really need to memorize these 4 traits of minerals. So in order to be a mineral, minerals have to be solid, non-living, natural, and then this part here, crystalline structure. If you just say made of crystals, I'm okay with that too. And again, that means like the repeating shapes like what we're seeing with our rock candy. Okay, so now question number 3 and and then the question coming later are hypothetical situations, things that you're going to actually need to use your some common minerals chart for. So let's pretend that Mr. Atkins in the cafeteria, say he announces he's running a special mineral identification contest, and he puts 2 minerals in front of you, and he tells you one's pyrite, which is fool's gold, and one is real gold. And if you identify them correctly, you get to keep the much more valuable gold. Now you'll notice that I have 2 different properties here to tell them apart. I don't care which one you choose or if you choose both of them. That's up to you on the retake, but streak would definitely work, but so would a scratch test for hardness. So if you pick streak, pyrite, the way I said it, it has a dark streak. The chart talks about it being brownish or greenish. Either you can say it like that too. Where gold, when you do a streak test on the streak plate, it's going to be yellow. And pyrite is a 6.0 to a 6.5 on most hardness scales, so it would resist scratching more than the gold. So either one of those answers will work. Okay, now let's pretend that Mr. Beery gets jealous of Mr. Atkins's contest and he says he's running one of his own. So he puts 2 minerals in front of you, halite and calcite, and he says he'll give you a $100 bill if you can tell them apart, but he has a requirement that you're only allowed to use special properties, which means you can't use color, streak, luster, or the scratch test. So how would you tell them apart? Well, on your some common minerals chart, it says halite has a salty taste in the notes, and it says that calcite will fizz with an acid like vinegar or lemon juice. So that's a chemical reaction. I don't want you just to say halite has a salty taste and calcite doesn't, for example. I want you to identify both of those special properties that make calcite and halite easy to identify. And then the final set of questions has to do with this graph. So this was also a question that was commonly missed. And so not really so much the first one. The first one says, what are the 2 common elements found in Earth's crust? So these are the elements that make up minerals in Earth's crust. And to do that, you have to look for the 2 biggest pieces of this circle graph. So the biggest piece is oxygen, and then silicon is the second biggest piece. All of these other metals together make 24%, and that's not as much as 28 or 47. So you should not have been picking anything in the gray or the black section there. Now, you should not be surprised that those are the 2 most common, and lots of people miss this one. Here's why. Remember the lesson where you interpreted a concept map and it said that we have silicate minerals and non-silicate minerals, and that silicate minerals make up 90% of Earth's crust. Well, the recipe for a silicate mineral, remember when we did the sort, is that silicate minerals have to have the element silicon, which is capital S little I, if you look at a chemical formula, and also oxygen, which is a capital O. So we should not feel shocked that these are the 2 most abundant elements in Earth's crust, because we know that silicate minerals make up 90% of Earth's crust, and those are the 2 things that all silicate minerals, the 2 elements all silicate minerals have to have. Many people said they weren't surprised because oxygen is needed to breathe. Folks, when it says oxygen is in these minerals, it's not the same as the oxygen we breathe. Oxygen we breathe has a chemical formula of O2. The oxygen in silicate minerals is bonded into different compounds altogether, and remember, is a solid, not a pure gas like what we would breathe in. So, anyway, there's that little thing. I mean, it's the same element on the periodic table, but we're talking about oxygen and compounds within minerals in Earth's crust versus the oxygen in the air that we breathe. Two different places for that oxygen.